Which camera do I look at? I haven't prepared an intro for this. Cameron, do you think we need an intro for this show?
Well, I think you got to open it somehow.
I think so. Guys, welcome to the very first episode of SWOT. This is the name that we came up with for the newest program. Essentially, what we want to do is that you remember our Straight Talk, the little podcast that we have, me and Cameron. We wanted to spice that up a little bit and include some other people and talk about conversations that some say would be boring, but we're going to try to make it as fun as it is. But our main anchor is still this beautiful country. And Cameron Deggin here. Most of you guys know Cameron Deggin already from Straight Talks, and he is the founder and CEO of Property Turkey. And next to me, I have Matthew Young here. If you guys have been following our Straight Talks, Matthew has showed up in a few of the episodes as an investor, then later on turned to a consultant to our business. And we have Christine here, came all the way from Norway, and Christine is also one of our investors. And
a spiritual investor.
Oh, okay, that's we got interesting titles and interesting people in this very room, and we'll be talking about why these two lovely people have invested in Turkey and Turkish real estate, and why Cameron Deggin has invested how many years of your lifetime?
Well, as far as Turkey is concerned, almost 20 years now.
Yes, almost 20
with
years.
The business, but
right.
Actually practically living here 8 years now. Yeah.
Yes, 8 years of his lifetime, and I have invested
that sounds like
life.
A lot of time for you, doesn't it, Alaattin?
Yes, it does.
That's a long time for
right.
you.
So let's start up the conversation. I mean, Matthew, you were the one of the very first people who did business with us that we put on TV, and you yourself have experienced in investing into this country. How was your experience in general, and what were some of the things that you enjoyed during the investment process, and what were some of the things that you said, you know what, it would have been better if this thing never happened?
I don't want to be cliche, but it was a roller coaster ride. You know,
right.
There was the ups and downs of a new culture, new language, certainly a new economy. Mm-hmm. I don't think anybody's naive to what the lira has been doing, and that, I think, very analogous for a roller coaster ride.
Right.
So yeah, I was juggling a lot. You know, on a personal level, I was changing from the very cliche Texas American lifestyle to Istanbul. You know, exotic.
How did that happen? I mean, why would somebody move from that Texan life into a very authentic Beşiktaş life here in Istanbul? I mean,
I can give you tens of reasons, but let me hear Matthew's reasons here.
Cameron knows I'm a bit of a historian, and I guess on a serious note, I see the United States as kind of the Roman Empire, and I wanted to get out while I still could. And Istanbul, on the other hand, in spite of being ancient, which is very appealing to me, the modern economy that it's becoming is still very immature. Mm. And that's a very interesting place to be. Mm. You get something with character and history, yet it's still discovering itself in the 21st century. And that's an interesting place to be in this time.
It's a very interesting way of putting it. Yeah. I never thought of that.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy looks at the situation from a spiritual perspective, Cameron. Do you see the angle here?
Well, I mean, I think majority of people who come here is people who come to live here, not just purely invest in a pure investment viewpoint. Look at it that way. They look at it, their drive is more of an emotional drive than I'll put a penny here and I'll get 2 pennies back type of drive. I think that. And I think even for Christian, although Christian, you started pretty much from I want to invest, I want to do this kind of viewpoint. But I think since you've done that several years back, now it's more of it seems to me, it's more of an emotional thing for you. You want to be here. You enjoy spending time here. It seems that way.
I love Turkey out of many perspectives. The food, the barbers.
The barbers.
people.
We were just talking about the barbers.
And I've been here many times as a tourist before I invested in Turkey.
Right.
And I had a connection somehow with Turkey. And I've been traveling all over the world in my 20s. So I knew a bit what to expect when I come to a very exotic country to invest. And I've been staying 5 years in Latin America. That's even more upside down.
Of course.
But I was inspired. I was inspired by your straight talks.
Oh, thank you.
I had a bit of money on the sideline and I wanted to diversify. Our assets were very tied to Europe, and as a diversification, we wanted to get outside of Europe and the Western Hemisphere and reach other kind of investments. Yes, and Turkey was a very good fit there, especially when you started to look on the various valuations from the different big cities all over the world.
Exactly. Especially when you invested, which was what, about 3 years ago now, I
Yes.
think, 3 years ago or so. The real estate values in Turkey were a lot lower than what they are now.
Yeah.
And relatively speaking to other capitals in the world, when you compared, you'd be like, well, I'm getting a lot of buck for my money here.
Yes, and we're still undervalued.
And
If
it is
you're
still
looking,
undervalued, yeah.
On Singapore, London,
You're right. You're
New
absolutely
York.
right. Yeah.
And I think Istanbul holds a place on that map as one of the 8 big metropolitan
Absolutely.
I agree.
cities
Yeah,
in the
100%.
world.
Yeah.
So.
My
100%.
philosophy notwithstanding, I did like the investment aspect of it too. So-
But is it always this romantic idea, investing in Turkey? I mean, you've been doing this for 20 years. For 20 years, what would you say the ratio of romantics versus the rationals coming to Turkey?
Do you know what I think, Alaattin? I think a great majority of people who come here, they are somehow emotionally driven. There is a reason why they want to come here. They're not coming here purely to get some sort of ROI on their money. I don't think so. What
now,
I
why
see
do you say
is
that? Is it because our currency fluctuates all the time?
No,
Is
I
it
think
because we tend to, from time to time, follow unorthodox interest policies, and then we try
do
to
all of that,
maneuver,
which is-
and maybe that scares some of the investors.
Well, look, we do
Yeah.
all of that, and,
Yeah.
and the fact of the matter is, when you look at it from the grand scheme of things, all those things you mentioned, we raise interest rates, then 2 years down the line, 3 years down the line, we decide that, you know what, that wasn't the right policy. Let's just go and lower them, and then 3 years down the line, you know what? Actually, we should just about increase them to see what's going to happen.
Yeah.
This is part of Turkish culture. This is Turkish culture, and it cuts all the way through. And in an interesting way, I think this is what makes it interesting, makes it an exciting place to come to, because you see it in the streets too.
It's full of
Yeah.
energy here
It
because
is.
of the young population.
It is full of energy.
Yes. And that
Full
inspires
of
also.
energy. 100%.
Yeah, that's an area where stats don't lie. You have a population where the majority are an average
Yes.
of what, 30 and a half years old, 85 million? plus or
80,
minus?
85 million
Yeah,
population.
Right.
That's a young, vibrant culture. I mean, you guys know I spent a lot of time in Japan. Very big on Japan, love the culture and so on. But when you have the majority of that country that is over 60, the majority.
Wow.
It's a decreasing population,
Yes.
isn't
Oh,
it? Japan? Yeah.
in 2050, I think they're saying it's going to be half the population,
Yeah,
which is
something like
staggering
that. Yeah,
to
yeah.
think about it. But I'm already seeing the effect of
Mm.
that aging community. Once you get outside of Tokyo, it's just this emptiness. It's losing that energy, and so to come from there to here and see the youth and the hope and the drive again, that I agree wholeheartedly with you. It is an energy that you can't quantify it in one specific thing, but you feel it.
Exactly.
Either in a raw investment or something, or walking down the street in a cafe. It's nice.
Is that the way investors, and actually foreign investors, look at one particular city or a country from an investment perspective? Is it the impressions? Does that start from the moment you exit the airport? You basically look at the driver, the way he drives the car, or you go to the main bazaar and see the people, their faces, the way they talk to one another, the way they work, the times that they go to work, and the pace of their walks on the street, and the tone of their voices when they're shouting or in the street with one another. Are these indicators of how young and vibrant and investable a country is?
I don't know, ever dissected it to that level. But in hindsight, I could say that, yeah, all of those are subliminal things that add to it. I think in general, it goes back to recognizing that there is a momentum in the culture or society, whatever semantics you want to use for it. And you do feel that. Now, if you want to get into the minutia of it, is it this or that? Yeah, fine. But at the end of the day, as an investor, if I walk into a place and I recognize or feel a way about it, pretty sure other people are too. And I think Christian said it best. This is one of the great cities of this planet. And it is, people talk about the curve that it's gone up. Yeah, okay. It was playing catch up.
Yes.
Now, I don't think we've plateaued. I think we've just caught up, and that's gotten some attention. Now I think the real investments are going to come, because we are where we should have been a long time ago.
Of course, I mean, loving one place is basically the ultimate reason to go there, right? Otherwise, I mean, how many numbers you need to know into investing into some country? I mean, from my perspective, if I'm going to invest in real estate and make the best buck, right? From a very narrow perspective, I would invest down the block. I would just go, I've been living in this block. I know that particular house. I know who buys it, and I know, how much I can buy it for and how much I can sell it for. But traveling all the way from another country, I'm not even talking about another state or another city or another industry within the country or within the very society or the culture that you come from, Europe and European Union and everything. None of that, but another country. There must be a good amount of love for that particular place, which I guess starts with the airport, right?
It's a good airport.
You can see the rate of development in the country, can't you?
Oh,
it's visible. Yeah. It's visible. Really, really visible. And that's, like going back to what we were talking about. Turkey, I find, is a little bit like a business, an entrepreneurial business.
The country is an entrepreneur.
Is like a business. But listen to this.
Okay.
A small business, like a startup, what we call a small and medium-sized business, SMEs. They're very entrepreneurial businesses where you've got a collection of people who have to multitask. They're going to do this and this and this. So after a while, especially if they're owner managers, they have to become very, very good at what they do. What happens is, as the business transitions from a small business to medium-sized business, then obviously responsibilities increase and a lot of people join the business. So, your managerial scope increases. So you can no longer do this and this and this and this and be very, very good at that. It's not really possible. So what you do is you start becoming more focused in terms of what discipline, what department of the business you're going to take responsibility over. Now, I think if Turkey was a business, it would be somewhere along the mid-sized business. Whereas, say, Norway would be a big business, an established business, a corporate business. US would be more of a corporate business. UK would be more of a corporate business. If you were to take these countries and look at them as businesses. So Turkey, in a way, as a country, is like, it's in this stage of expansion. It's in this stage of consolidation, yet it is still an emerging business. It still is entrepreneurial. People do this and this and this. So there's this juggling all the time in the country that is going on. And I think that is that energy that you guys are talking about. You pick that. You live through it in every facet of the business, if you see what I mean. Whereas in a developed, mature economy, everything is
Well, I think the individual's impact is more relevant in that medium size. You take a big corporation, I come from the energy background. I couldn't walk into ExxonMobil and change anything there. Best I could advise on a tiny little division on one little project and hope that I had some affect. But you take that medium-sized company, each individual, the tea
cause
lady,
and effect is more visible.
Yes,
right?
you're going to feel more valuable. And I think in a society like this, I think on the individual basis, and I see this very much in the streets, and with the Turkish people that I've met, they feel very connected to what's going on in their country. And coming from the U.S., which is that big multinational corporation,
is that big multinational.
Everybody feels disenfranchised.
You got it.
They
this is
feel
exactly
like
the point I'm getting at.
It's on autopilot. I'm along for the
Matthew,
ride.
this is exactly the point I'm making.
Yeah.
And you got it.
Yeah,
because
indeed.
That's
why I'm here.
You don't necessarily, when you walk in the streets, when you interact with people, you don't necessarily say to yourself, oh yeah, I am in a small to mid-sized entity and this entity is entrepreneurial, so I'm enjoying it. You don't say that, but at the back of your mind, although you can't define it, you feel it.
Yeah.
That detachment, that nowadays in the more mature economies, in the multinational countries, let's say, like US, UK, etc., you have that feeling. In Turkey yet, you don't. Exactly for the reasons you mentioned. Do you feel what I'm saying? But you're in Argentina, which is also an SME. In a way.
But it's a huge difference between Argentina and Turkey.
There is.
But my background is in small businesses, and there is this passion, and there is this drive.
The word is passion.
Yes.
The word is passion.
And you can find it here among the people also.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah. But that
if you tune into that, it's an amazing energy.
Yeah.
If you tune into that and resonate with that, it takes you up. At times, it hits you to the floor too.
Well, it's a double-edged sword.
Yes. But you know what? This is what life is.
Yeah, no.
This is what life is.
Here.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I think partially this is, I think, one of the reasons, that passion, that feeling that I live.
That sense
I
of
exist.
freedom, that sense of to be able to.
This is partially what pulls people in.
And see the result of your actions.
Yeah.
Whereas in a big corporate world or big corporate company, it's very hard to see that particular
You're
result.
a number.
Yeah.
But I see in this country that you have a bit of trial and error just at a small company. And not everything is perfect, but you come back stronger. And that is wonderful to see.
You live.
Yes.
You live.
Yeah.
This is an interesting thing. And you know what? It is a very, very important thing.
Yeah.
That feeling that you live.
Yeah.
And you know what, Alaattin? Although none of what we're talking about here is about making money, is about making a fantastic investment and ripping the reward. We haven't even talked about that, but the things we're talking about are the things that I truly believe are the real reasons why people are investing in Turkey.
Right.
Are the real reasons. And the returns they get, for most people, is the bonus. Not the main driver, is the bonus for why they're investing.
Yeah.
So what do we have to do then?
We just thought that we invite people who are knowledgeable in their own fields and in their own experiences, and we allow them to talk about their experiences in that particular subject, which could reveal the honest truth about that particular subject.
We thought that we need a slightly more encompassing and slightly more diversified program that tackles Turkey's macroeconomic and business world.
Yeah.
So that we could then utilize this program as a program of expertise to support the fund. We have just launched Funding Turkey, and all four of us are involved in Funding Turkey. And Funding Turkey is our licensed investment fund. It can offer currently two different types of funds: a real estate investment fund, which is like a REIT, and at the same time a venture capital fund, which can go out there and invest in any startup, any business in any particular segment. And the sectors and the segments that we have identified so far that we wish to invest in and we wish to basically promote as business sectors with rewarding future potential in Turkey are like energy sector, technology sector, healthcare, medical care sector, tourism, and of course, real estate. Certainly, these are the main sectors that we have identified based upon analysis, based upon our observations of Turkey and the future of the world and Turkey. And to that effect, we haven't just stopped there. We have gone out there and recruited and incorporated into our intelligence, if you like, business analysts from the top government institutions. These are people who deliver analysis, sectoral analysis for the government, for Turkish government. Many thanks.
Many thanks. And that was our analysis.
He's our cameraman.
Yeah.
And so basically what we're doing now is we're basically saying that, let's do a program that is lighthearted in the way it is delivered. It's a little bit of fun.
Right.
It's some joy. And we have a few planted characters like us and a few other partners we have. And every episode, we potentially can rotate different people from different business segments. Say if one particular episode, we're covering the energy sector or part of the energy sector of Turkey. We're giving information about where the sector was, where it is now, where is it likely to go, who the big players are, what kind of returns can an investor expect. Then what we wish to do, in addition to us here talking about it, is we wish to invite guest speakers as expert speakers from that very sector. So this is the starting point of this program. This is hopefully where this program will evolve in weeks and months to come.
Emotional honesty. And I heard this from this guy called Hasan Minhaj. Do you guys know Hasan Minhaj?
No clue who that is.
This guy was interviewing Obama. And he basically said that, hello, Mr. President, before we start, I want to tell you that we need to film this episode in an emotionally honest way. Because during your tenure, you were factually correct and emotionally dishonest at time. Wow, look at this. Factually correct, but emotionally dishonest at time. He goes, after you, the people who came after you were factually incorrect, but emotionally honest. And you know who I'm talking about. If you are factually correct and emotionally dishonest, they're not going to care.
Yeah, but we do need to be factually correct too, Alaattin.
Yeah, of course.
Well, they're not mutually exclusive.
That's why we hired.
I'm having a go ahead.
That's why we hired an analyst. Then we are presented these numbers and data and now.
Oh, is that what all this is? I was just using it as a scratch pad.
We are emotionally
honest.
No. We are factually honest and emotionally correct. No, we are correctually honest and factually
honest.
Say that 6 times in a row.
We are factually. Why don't you help me here? I'm stuck.
We are factually correct, emotionally honest.
Yes,
we have to be.
That's the show.
You should write that.
Transparent.
I should write.
Write that right about the back wall here, so you have.
I've got to take a note of this. Yes.
You do have a knack for coming up with slogans, I know.
Yes. Factually honest, emotionally factually correct. Factually correct.
Emotionally honest.
Emotionally honest. So this is going to be our motto. Okay? Zoom in and get this. Emotionally correct, factually. Is it because of...
You can't even say the motto.
Seriously.
There you go, Chico.
Yeah, what is it?
Factually
lovely penmanship.
Factually,
you see?
Emotionally honest, factually correct. Let's talk about this then. We talked about the journeys, weekly, not necessarily journeys, but the general reasons why you guys are here, right? But name of the show being SWOT, we kind of want to end this with a SWOT analysis so that the name holds.
Kind of, yeah.
What would you guys say are some of the weaknesses of this country are? Because weaknesses are always there so that you can capitalize on, right?
I see language as a big
Weakness
because
point.
English is not so very widely spoken, and especially for a foreigner, it can create barriers to get into the culture, get to know people, get to know the barber. But also you feel lost in when you do serious business at the title deed, etc., etc. And if you want to set up shop, a business here, it's also you're struggling if you don't know the languages.
True, because what you find is that the government offices, where a lot of those transactions somehow have to be concluded, whether it's title deed or some sort of notary or what have you, they hardly have a second language. So you really struggle if you can't speak some Turkish. So that certainly is a weakness.
And also, if I would like to call a plumber, or if I have a car accident and the other guy gets mad on me, what should I do? Should I take Google Translate out? I cannot have like really an emotional argument then and there. It's just text based.
100%. That's a weakness. Definitely. Look, I'm doing the SWOT. What do you see as a weakness?
I think I'm more frustrated with, and it's a totally internal perception thing. I come from a very sort of disciplined culture of how things get done, when they get done.
It does come from a military background.
And I'm having to learn a lot of patience. Things don't move at the pace I'm used to.
Why would you say that's the case? If you were to encapsulate this in one word, like he said, language, we all got him. How would you encapsulate this? Because I'm doing my SWOT analysis, mate. I'm writing it down.
One word?
One word.
I don't have one word for that.
2 words. Make an exception for you. A 2-word phrase that you can use instead of 1 word.
In the US, I think from a Norwegian perspective, we are very, very focused on a goal in the future. And we work 100% straight towards that. And here you live a bit more in the day. And
Hallederiz abi. Have you heard of that?
No.
Hallederiz abi. Inshallah.
Oh, okay.
Inshallah.
Inshallah.
A lot of that.
If God
It is
wants
very much
it.
an inshallah culture.
Okay, that's it.
I think
Inshallah
that would be
culture.
it. It's an inshallah culture.
Well done.
Inshallah culture.
Doesn't that mean if God wants it?
Yeah, if God wills it.
Yeah.
In Turkey, okay, here's what it is. And, inshallah is I think, as far as I know, is 2 words brought together. And Murtaza can say, because he speaks Arabic. I think it's inshallah.
Yes.
Like insha as in inshat, and Allah, no?
Inshallah. God willing.
God willing. So if Arab person tells you inshallah, 99% of times it means never. Fact. It means never.
Right.
If a Turk tells you inshallah, it doesn't quite mean never, but it means whenever I feel like it.
Highly unlikely.
So
the
language, the inshallah culture,
of course.
fantastic.
Yeah.
And what I find is difficult here to deal with is if I was to sum it in one way, I'd say enforceability. In fact, the lack of enforceability. Because in Turkey, there are laws and regulations for almost anything you can think about. There are, would you believe? Their laws and regulations go into thousands of pages.
Yeah.
They have laws and regulations as to how you are to walk on a pavement. However, having laws and regulations is one thing. Enforcing those laws and regulations in a fair and systematic and consistent way is another thing. The same law and regulation is enforced one way by certain authorities, another way by certain authorities. And the way that the laws and regulations are enforced can be tampered. Need to say no further. So there is a bit of an enforceability issue because that laws and regulations are there, but do not ever think that laws and regulations will consistently apply to each and every scenario.
I don't disagree.
So then we need laws and regulations that apply to everybody exactly in the same way, whether you're the king or the subject of the king. So yes, language is definitely a weakness. But like any weakness, it could be just flipped the other way and it could become an opportunity.
Hold on.
Oh, we're
not getting there. Of course there are opportunities.
Inshallah, culture. We all understand what this means.
Now, how do you turn that around?
Hold on, we get
How do you turn that around?
now. Lack of
Well, there's
enforceability.
a-
Maybe you need a little bit of lubrication,
Look,
maybe? I don't know.
Lack of
Yeah.
enforceability or lack of or
Consistent
inconsistent
consequences.
enforceability is definitely a
Yeah.
weakness. Go on, give me a weakness that you see.
Lira, man.
The
Lira.
devaluation.
Currency?
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Dude, it's see, for the past, I'd say the good portion of 4 or 5 years, the lira has been extremely
Volatile.
I notice
Wallet,
it in my
yeah.
wallet. The bills don't even fit in any
Yeah,
longer.
yeah.
That's a
Yes.
big issue.
Dude,
Yes.
I the problem is it's a cash-based economy.
Yeah.
There's still a lot of cash is moved. When you're
Yeah.
buying a house, people take cashes. You know how our people go to banks, right? In the past, if they want to buy, let's say, a 1-bedroom apartment, they would just put the money in a briefcase
Mhm.
and they would just go and do the transaction. Now, people are carrying big, bulky
I've
bags
seen them.
for,
Yes.
for the same.
I've spent
Yes.
hours
Yes.
in the bank watching them come in with shopping bags
Yeah.
with the largest denomination they could, but it's still 2 shopping bags, and they have to go. It won't fit through the window. They've taped all the money together, and this is every day when I go to the
Yeah.
bank. There's people lined up
Yeah.
doing cash
Interesting.
transactions because of the
Interesting.
devaluation.
Well,
Yeah.
it's because of the devaluation, and I guess also because of the money that's not in the circulation.
Yeah. No,
Now,
I mean,
Turks
look,
still keep with gold under their pillow,
I know
their
they
cash
do.
under their
Right.
pillow. So
I know. Compared to a lot of other countries, like compared to say Norway,
Yeah.
what is whatever the declared GDP of Norway is, you know that is pretty much what it is.
That's probably spot
Take
on.
the declared GDP of Turkey, and I'd say to you times it by about 1.7. That's what the real GDP of Turkey is, because only a portion of
Well, you've got 2
the
economies.
economies.
Yeah.
You've
have
got
2
an
economies,
underground
yeah.
economy that is
Big
working
time.
with cash.
Big
And,
time.
yeah,
Big-
in
big
Norway,
time.
we don't
But that's
even
part of the
have
fun.
cash any
It is
longer.
part of the fun.
Yeah.
And I think it is also part of why certain people come here too.
Yeah.
right.
I'm going to give
Uh,
another weakness of Turkish economy.
What?
We said language, we said inshallah culture, we said lack of enforceability or inconsistent enforceability, we said currency. There's one more that I think underpins almost all of these. Certainly the currency, it impacts the currency. I think it's short-termism. That's
Yeah.
one thing about Turkish economy. A lot of investments and a lot of businesses and a lot of the behavior of businesses in Turkey, not all, of course, and this cuts across the culture. It isn't just businesses. It's, if you look at the government policies too, to a great extent, short term. They do something today, 2 years later, they do something completely opposite. And then a year later, they decide that, you know what, it shouldn't be left, it should be right. Short termism. They build things very short term, knowing full well, or not even thinking that 5 years, 10 years down the line, what they built today is no longer going to be sufficient or applicable. Short-termism. There is a short-termism in Turkey. I think Turkey is not alone in this. I would imagine certain other countries, emerging markets, suffer from this as well.
Is
Right,
that an emerging
Christian?
market thing?
I think it's a southern.
I think it's a culture thing.
I think
rather
the
than
closer you
it's
get to the
emerging
equator,
market or not,
you get
so-
that. From what I've noticed, northern
Yes.
places
Yeah.
typically have 100-year plan. You look at China, they're thinking 100 years ahead. The Japanese, geez, they wrote the book on planning 5 generations out for anything they do. So it's an interesting, because the closer you get to the equator, I've noticed things are very, that'll do. All right, let's throw this up. We'll worry about.
I
next
think it's a
fiscal year.
cultural thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, but doesn't it
Warmer,
create a
maybe it's
bit
the warmer
of
climate things, because you have to
Warmer
think
climate
more.
think.
Culturally, if you're in a place that historically, before the Industrial Revolution, you had to plan to have enough food to get through the winter, your mindset as a culture is, we've got
Shall
to
we salt
think-
it? Shall we fume it?
Right. Let's get ahead of it.
Shall we smoke it? Shall we, you know?
And tropical and subtropical climates, it's everything was right there. So
Right in front of you. You don't
never
even
really
have to
had
think.
too far ahead.
Yeah.
So I think culturally, it just sort of, that mass psychosis,
100%.
it stretches it, or
And it's still
it shrinks
here.
it.
It's still
I think
here.
that's still
Yeah.
very much here, because big surprise for me is looking at this country. You will trip over a grocery store. There's 3 or 4 on every block. It is the most well-fed country I've ever seen. So people don't think too far ahead. You have everything. There's a pharmacy on every corner. There is 200 barbers down one street.
Yes.
It
Yes.
is fascinating to me.
It is, isn't it? It is.
How much you have of everything here. And I think in a way that sort of promotes, I don't have to think too far ahead. Everything is just right here.
But doesn't this
And,
create a bit of flexibility also?
I think Turkey has it because of where it is. You're right.
Yeah.
Warmer climates generally. But I think Turkey also has it because of their historic past. Because don't forget, this people, this nation, up until he'll know better, 100 years ago, were predominantly nomadic people. They migrated from high grounds to low grounds, depending on if it's winter, you're high ground, if it's summer, you're low ground, or the other way around. I don't know. So if you're nomadic, then you're never fully settled anywhere. If you're never fully settled anywhere, then you're thinking only for the season, because you're going to pack up and go. You're not going to stay. So I think that kind of brings in the short-termism. But the short-termism, I think, comes with a lot of opportunities.
Yes, and you have this trial and error. So if you do an error, you need to understand that you have done it and fastly switch to another path. So
Yes. So, all right, we talked about the weaknesses. Cameron, can you please count the kind of weaknesses that the country has one more time, please?
Well, I mean, this is sort of going around the table. We said language.
Right, the language barrier.
Inshallah culture, which means I'll do it when. Then, language, inshallah culture, enforceability, currency devaluations or fluctuations. And I would put short-termism as a weakness for the Turkish economy. And certainly, in my opinion, it is partially responsible for the currency fluctuations. Because if you're not planning ahead, then you're going to always have that. So strengths. Let's see what the strengths of Turkey from a business and investment viewpoint are. You're coming into Turkey from overseas. You're investing either into real estate or investing in a business or starting a business or investing your money in a fund. You're coming here with a view to investing in this country. What are the strengths?
I would say the diversification you find in this country, and they seem to come along very well, actually.
I agree.
And then you have different viewpoints from different people, different culture, and that actually create a debate that do you find the best ideas?
How would you sum that in one sentence or one word or two?
Diversification.
Very good.
Across 7, 8 different geographic regions, different ethnicities, different cultures.
But he's so right. It's so
But
diversified.
he picked it up. And that's the first thing he said.
That's
very
so
interesting.
well. And you know
That's very interesting. Not a lot of people do pick it up.
Oh,
And
you're
also in
absolutely
the
right.
food, the diversification.
Yeah.
you find. You
Everything.
have very great.
I love
Christian,
Yes. He's the ambassador of Turkey.
Very good observation.
He's a-
Do you know one thing that I see in Turkey, which you're highly unlikely to see in many other countries?
Right.
And when I say this, you will all say yes. You're walking down the street, you see a gang of ladies or mixed people, but ladies, because what I will explain mainly refers to ladies. You see 2, 3 of them dressed up very liberally.
Oh, yeah.
Almost too liberally. They're friends. They're all, they're friends. They're bubbly, jubbly, walking, having fun. 2, 3 of them, their heads are covered. Yet, they're best of mates.
Yeah.
The lady with the hijab doesn't frown upon that, doesn't look down on the scantily dressed lady, or let's call it that. I'm using that as an expression. I mean the liberally dressed lady. But the scantily dressed lady doesn't think that the lady with the hijab is, I'm not going to associate myself with you. No, they are best of friends and they are enjoying the moment.
Yeah.
Now, you don't see that in many countries.
No,
That's lovely.
In Turkey, they mix so well And there's none of that, differentiation or isolation or alienation because of this or that. And this is a beautiful, beautiful thing about Turkey, in my opinion.
Well, that's the point I made in that original Straight Talk I did. You take the U.S., which is, prides itself in defining pop and modern culture. It is a child compared to the global scene. I would argue that U.S. culture really didn't, what we call the U.S. didn't take foot until after World War II, post-World War II. So it's less than 100 years old. Istanbul specifically has been a meeting point for humanity since we've been walking upright.
The bridge.
Yeah. It has had millennia to get comfortable with different religions, different cultures, cuisine, every little idiosyncrasy.
Which partially is the diversification he talked about. But you're picking on the merger of the diversification, the bridge.
I think that is one of the sort of foundational things that again, that energy that just exudes from this city is we don't care who you pray to or what you're wearing, what you're eating. Everything comes here because this is the center of the world, as you so cleverly pointed out.
The center of the world.
The center of the world, yeah.
Well, give me one word for it. He said diversity. Bridge?
It's ground zero for who we are as a species.
I like that. Christian.
Yeah.
I like the ground zero. Okay, I'll write it.
That's Hollywood.
But isn't it also that you have a very strong national identity that kind of unites?
But I think that comes from the pride of having that. I think those two. I think that is a symptom of recognizing the value.
No, but that's
and Turks do recognize it.
They absolutely
and they're proud of it. They're proud of it. Although I have not observed overly assertive nationalism in Turkey. I never observed it.
I think it's pride.
It's pride, yes. It isn't that nationalism which, no. But yes, they are proud and yes, there are certain values, and this is another beautiful thing about this country. Look, there are Sunnis here, there are Alevites, there are Christians, there are Orthodox, there are Jews, there are all sorts of people in Turkey. Yet, there are certain values that, irrespective of what backgrounds they come from, they so quickly unite under. When I realized that was 8 years ago, and I will tell you exactly how I realized it. It banged me here the similar of this room in other previous office. I noticed that they come together, and this is so beautiful about the country. It was a few years after the Syrian war when we had all the refugees coming over here. Okay, and in our company, at the time we had at least 10 Syrian nationals working. This was about 7 years ago, I think, in Istanbul. And because Syrians are good salespeople, and they have good language skills. The guys we have. Very educated, sophisticated population. Yeah. One day, we're having this training session. And our training sessions, as you guys know, always turn into a zoo, really. But they're not the most
on a rant.
Yeah, I do. They're not the most formal training things. They're like where we have fun, really. So we gathered around, and I asked one question to these guys, to these Syrian guys. I said, boys, girls, give me one name in your history, past, current, future, time irrelevant, that all of you can galvanize under. They couldn't. Give me one name in their history that they would all instinctively say, call out. Yeah. Then I turned to the Turks in the group. I said, give me one name.
Atatürk.
Within 1 second, that name was out.
Yeah. But under this with the national identity, don't you have many singers and actors that you also come that unites the people, because when I'm with Turks they say, oh, this Kurtis and this Ajda Pekka, and I have no clue who they are. But all the Turks are like, and they have, even if they maybe criticize them, they have some kind of love relation also with them, and that kind of also creates this unity.
Shall I tell you from the business viewpoint, and what you said is what we were talking about in our last Straight Talk episode. The biggest thing about Turkey from an investment viewpoint, particularly from an overseas investor viewpoint, if you're looking to invest in Turkey in a long haul, is reality always exceeds expectations. Because for some reason, the positive expectation gap.
Right.
Because when you come over here, if you're not too familiar with Turkey, and particularly if you come from the Western world, from the more developed economies, you have a view of Turkey generally that is lower than the reality. But when you come here and when you start living here and mixing and merging and experiencing and sampling life here, you realize that the reality is actually better than what you expected.
100%.
Now, that's what I call a positive expectation gap.
Yeah.
And a positive expectation gap in business is a premium.
I remember the first time I went for brunch in Bebek. I mean, it's an
Oh,
incredibly
it's
sophisticated,
lovely.
charming people. There's a dozen different languages being spoken. I'm tripping over Ferraris to get into, this little boutique place I like to go for coffee.
Yeah.
And I mean, you never see this on anything to do with Turkey outside of the borders.
So diversification, ground zero, I like that. National identity, we put that as a positive.
Yeah.
What of young generation is certainly a
That's
positive.
100%. That is one of the most
Population.
precious things about this country.
And put this on, I think
Well educated.
the biggest
You've
strength.
University education is far better here than in the U.S. As far as per capita.
Young generation, young population, but the biggest one by far, I'd say, is location.
It is.
It is location. Come on, guys. Let's face it.
It's the
admit-
center of
if
the
this
world.
country-
It is.
that's what it is. Yeah.
It is. And the
Yeah.
climate.
Yeah.
Oh, amazing climate.
Yeah, we get 4 lovely seasons.
It gets
it's-
long, the list.
Yeah, and more importantly, it's a geopolitical location.
Yeah.
The fact that we have the Istanbul, the Bosphorus Strait, and the Dardanelles and everything, that's a huge contribution.
Yeah.
And where we are located between the
Exactly.
Middle East and Asia, and that location is second to none. Turkey will never go broke because of that.
Yeah.
Because you just can't. You just can't. You're sitting right across the trade routes
It's
of
a
the
hub.
world. It's a hub.
That restaurant I sit at, the coffee house in Bebek, I sit there and look out and watch the grain ships going back and forth. And I have a little experience with large ships and the shipping industry, and it is staggering. It really brings it all home when you see the amount of commerce going back and forth. Just in me sitting for a morning coffee,
Right.
it is breathtaking how much industry is coming through.
It
So
is.
there's a lot of positives in everything.
Now,
but-
threats. What are the threats that we're facing?
Okay, political instability.
I go with that.
Guys, 7 years ago,
We had
there was a
attempt.
coup attempt in this country.
Yeah.
F-16s flying over, bombing the parliament, and a hit squad was sent to
Yes.
assassinate the president of this country.
Really? Is that so?
Yeah. Is that a normal thing?
Well,
it
apparently
happens in Russia too. Yeah,
Apparently,
but,
January 6th in the United States, they had a coup too, so it can happen anywhere.
It can. But what do you think the biggest threat of this country, of being here, of working here?
I think it's a cultural one. I think it's, I don't know if it's, I don't want to use the word complacency, but I would say it's a subliminal fear of any drastic change. I think that's the only thing holding it back. And I think that is a threat. When you don't, that nationalism, that the downside to everybody being under this umbrella, in one sense, that's like a warm blanket. And it's very scary to get out from under it. And if nobody else is getting out, all the greatness about everybody sort of being on the same page that, hey, we're Turks, and they desperately want to hold on to that, that it's hard for them to move in any direction very quickly as a society.
What do you think, Christian?
Yeah, no, I can agree on that. That you have less flexibility if there is a strong national unity, but yeah, I don't see it as the biggest threat. I think it's actually more a positive thing that keeps everyone together. So,
But what do you think the threats are?
no, it's mostly this that you have the neighborhood, let's say. You have the war up there in Ukraine, and you have Syria. And
so you see those as possible threats. Interesting.
I would add, what I've given as an internal one, I'd say there's an external threat, and I would call it the global monetary policies. I think they are very destructive to Turkey's position right now globally. I don't think I think the powers that be were not happy that Erdogan stayed in power. And I see a lot of policies that are trying to hurt the economy just to punish the outcome of that election. And I see that as a very real threat.
Right. Cameron, what do you think?
I see the main threat when I look at macroeconomics of Turkey. I see the main threat as, I don't know how to explain this, but not being able to be the provider of products and services that are differentiated. Turkey can no longer be the producer and supplier of low-cost products and services. So Turkey's competition in the international markets cannot be a cost competition. In other words, Turkey cannot build its economy, cannot gear itself to be the provider of least cost products and services. Okay? If you're competing anywhere for any product or service, really and truly take everything aside, there are two ways to compete. You're either cost competing or you are differentiating. If you're differentiating, you're providing a product to the market that is differentiated, albeit it charges a premium. Okay? It's differentiated despite the premium, people will buy it because of the intrinsic value that people attach to it.
German auto industry.
Exactly. Spot on. Turkey hasn't got that. Turkey so far, and again, in my opinion, due to Turkey's culture, not necessarily economy, that short-termism that I said, due to this, because for you to have a differentiated product, you need to invest in the future. So that you invest today, so you develop something that adds that differentiation edge. If you shy away from investing, and if you have this short-term view of money today, which is kind of the culture of Turkey, mostly.
Immediate gratification.
Immediate gratification, exactly the right phrase. Then you can get caught in cost competition. Turkey can no longer be a cost competitor. Turkey was a cost competitor throughout the 70s, 80s, and part of the 90s, but not anymore. Because countries like India, Bangladesh, Indonesia, China, Vietnam,
Malaysia,
and in 10 years' time, maybe not even 10 years' time, I bet you African countries will come up. These countries will always be able to deliver at a lower cost. So if you haven't moved up your supply chain, your intellectual property, your quality and differentiation, then you could find yourself in a position where your products are no longer desirable. In my opinion, everything aside, that's the biggest threat that Turkey has in front of it. And this is why, and I think, and I'm really, really happy, Dennis, correct me if I'm wrong, Turkey has increased its investment and R&D in a big time in the last 6 years. And in the next 5-6 years, Turkey plans to invest in R&D more than it did in the last 40 years, which means they have woken up. Now that gives me a lot of confidence that at least the beast has woken up. Now, if Turkey can play their cards right and start differentiating its products by adding value, which requires long-term investment, long-term thinking. It requires education. It requires focus. If Turkey can do that, Turkey then will be able to compete with the likes of Germany, even in the automobile industry.
But isn't it a question about capital formation also? And currently, actually, we do get a big inflow of capital to Turkey by foreign investments, capital that stays in the circle of Turkey, capital that finds entrepreneurs, and then you make a business that is successful, that maybe will capture more of the value in the country. So I also see capital formation as an important
100%.
role for the way
100%.
forward for this.
What is the
value
mission
creation.
of our fund? Come on, you wrote it.
Funding Turkey, yeah.
But how does it end for the economic prosperity of the country?
Yes.
So this is actually the vision and the mission that we set for our fund. So it's not just come and invest and we'll give you a good ROI. No, come invest for the prosperity of yourself and the country.
Yes.
Because this is what everyone wins. Because this is what's needed in this country. What's needed is people to stop thinking today for me.
Yeah.
People to say, okay, how can I, do something or deliver something that will help me, but my neighbor too, and my relatives too, and my wider circle too,
And the best businesses are based on that, when everyone is a winner.
Alliance.
Yes.
The best business model is alliance.
Yes.
Right.
And when everyone wins on it.
Synergy. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's a good chat. We've been having a nice conversation for the past 2 hours.
We started
you
slow.
don't realize we
But
just
then
started
we picked
slow.
up.
Then we
Nobody's
picked up.
thrown anything.
Right.
No,
So-
nobody is. Right?
Yeah.
And we'll see the upcoming episodes as well. But to summarize, let's all say, our versions of SWOT in 2-3 sentences only. Now pick your words very carefully. I don't have 5 to 10 minute spots for each and every one of you that this will continue for a long time. 3-4 sentences. How would you summarize Turkey? If you wanna summarize a SWOT analysis of Turkey, right?
I'll start.
Go ahead.
Turkey has an attraction that goes beyond just, I'm putting $1 here and I'm going to get $2 next year. No, it tends to drive people more emotionally than by pennies, by ROI alone. Albeit in the last 20 years, if you look at the GDP growth of the country, it is, I think, as far as the growth rates are concerned, it's in the top 5 in the whole world of the developed world, GDP growth-wise. But the main thing is that it's a country that excites people due to its young, dynamic population, due to its diversity, but at the same time, this incredible tolerance that it has for cultures, for different cultures, even within its own umbrella. So these are all massive positives. And certainly it's a young, dynamic culture, a hub in the world. You've got Africa here, Asia here, Middle East, Europe, Russia, and Turkey is right in the middle. As we showcased in one of our episodes, we called it the center of the world. I do believe that, by the way. You open the world map, put it on the map, close your eyes and take a dart and throw it in the middle. It will land on Turkey, geographically. It will. Try it at home. But it doesn't come without its challenges. And Personally, this is the way I see it, and I might be a bit biased because I am personally very close to Turkish culture. I'm from Cyprus, and I do speak Turkish, so I kind of grew up with a pseudo-Turkish culture. I find the biggest problem or the biggest challenge facing Turkey as the short-term thinking of the Turkish economy and generally, culturally, the short-termism that Turks have. Instant gratification, which I think is the best way to explain it. So if that can be slightly managed in years to come, I think Turkey has got a very, very bright future. Very, very bright future. Dynamic people, hub of the world, people who want gratification, who want the rewards. And you know what? They're willing to go for it. You know, they're not lazy. We've got it all. We're plateaued now, you know, which is the problem I see in the developed world. Unfortunately, in the UK, each time I go, I see it and it slaps me on the face. I see it in the US. You know, it kind of almost come to a level of maturity. And like all economic models suggest, after maturity comes a point of diminishing returns. Whereas Turkey is still on that slope. They want. So that want and that drive, you know, is a propelling engine, in my opinion. That's how I see Turkey.
Cameron, that's a great way of putting it.
Well, that's the way I see it.
Right. But Matthew, please don't take this long. You're
asking Matthew?
Yeah. Just please don't take this long. Seriously, yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No, I'll do a quick. Let's do a comparison, and that's the simplest way to sum up Turkey for me. You take the West, specifically the U.S. It is a victim of its own success. Its problems are hubris and entitlement, because I think you alluded to it. They've reached such a point, and now they're failing because of their own success. Things have gotten too easy. The expectation of everything is ingrained to small children.
True.
Turkey, on the other hand, its problems are its immaturity. Again, not as a historic nation, but as a viable global partner in a global economy. It is immature in that area. And if I had to pick between the two handicaps, I will take immaturity as the problems I have to confront over arrogance.
Because you can work with it.
Exactly. It's going to evolve.
Yes.
It has to evolve.
Yeah.
It is not sustainable.
Yeah.
Neither are sustainable, but one is going to evolve in something and the other one's going to wither and die unless it dramatically changes courses. And I don't bet on great resets. I'm a realistic investor. The simplest,
but this is it.
Yeah,
This is a very important viewpoint for investment.
Yeah, it is.
You know, you invest in something that is growing rather than something that's.
That's what investment is.
I've never gone short on a stock, even when I know I could. I fundamentally disagree with betting on the demise of other things, and because it's not about money. I mean, money is important. I'm not going to lie to anyone.
But the window that you look at the world is also important.
The way I make money, I've been a consultant trying to find efficiencies and make things better. I have physically built homes myself and had a product for my efforts. Here, I have invested and continue to invest in a fashion that will make a positive impact, not just on my ROI, but on what I'm doing. Yes. I can sleep at night knowing, giving somebody a home, investing in a business that is going to create jobs, I don't lose sleep on that. And I don't look over my shoulder.
That's a great way of putting it,
100%.
And
100%.
Shorter than expected.
Yeah. Oh yes.
I will try to sum it up in three sentences. Now, every time I come to Istanbul, I feel relaxed, and it's very strange because it's an enormous city.
Chaotic
Usually,
as well.
You feel stressed in big cities. You know, you are tired in the evening, but I feel welcomed here, and that is a very strength by the country. I also like the diversification and the energy among the young people, and they're very welcoming. And the diversification among the food, it makes you happy. One day you go out and have an amazing kebab. Another day you go out and have an amazing fish. The wines that we were talking about.
Not bad at all.
And it creates a smile on your face during the day, you know. So it has the lifestyle. And the opportunities is a young population, full of energy. The future lays in front of us. We are growing.
Exactly.
So the sky is the limit.
Look, have you noticed one thing? Both use the word we. He did. Do you understand what I mean? We are growing, he said. He said, and he said too. Now, this is beautiful. So they feel part of the society.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We is my pronoun.
Yeah. See,
You're the king now, are you?
It's them and they. Yeah. Very interesting. But it's a very simple way of looking at
Yes.
it. And simplicity is the great thing about you. I mean, look at the last meeting we had about the vision and the mission statement of the fund. I mean, it's just everybody
came up with
Yeah.
their vision and mission
Yeah.
statements for our fund.
And Christian goes with
Christian
two
goes
sentences.
with
That's your
two
vision.
sentences.
That's your mission.
And
Take
we
it
looked
from
at it,
here.
we go, you know what?
Yeah.
Says he all really.
Yeah.
I wanted to inspire investors from all over the world to make investments, great investments here in Turkey. So-
Yeah.
100%.
Well, I would,
It's
if
great,
I
yeah.
have a last word in this, for me, I'd say that's why I'm at this table. We've got to really share it accurately, because it's the information we have, and we've all been outside these borders. We know it's not out there. And I think there is a moral imperative to let people know what we know.
Yes.
And that's
100%.
not hubris. This is
100%.
objectively for a guy, and with humility. I have 115 countries under my belt now. And this isn't just stopping in. I spend time in these countries. I can say objectively, this country is so misunderstood outside its borders.
And you know what? I would say, sorry to the tourism ministry of Turkey, Dennis, if you have to repeat this, feel free. But I think Turkey is one of the most poorly marketed countries on the face of the world.
Indeed.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
And thank God I spend
Yeah.
so much time, because I have properties in other countries. I have to fly through Istanbul all the time, and it was through that, many layovers and so on, that I
Then
discovered
you
it.
opened your eyes
I
to
had
it.
to, it
Do you-
was
do you
just
hear
by
this?
happenstance. So you're absolutely right.
They're done good with that airport.
If they're not going to do it, we can do it right here.
right.
And you know what? 2 days ago, we were talking. Me and Alaattin, we sometimes, because we live in the same place, same tower,
Yeah.
massive tower. But it's like a village on its own. Chaotic one too, just like Turkey itself. We were sitting and talking exactly this point, and we said that our dream one day is to take this to the next level of a media channel that kind of, in a way, subliminally tries to, let's use the word, help the society subliminally.
Enlighten.
Yes, by, hopefully maybe getting rid of this short-termism, maybe trying to show people that, you know what, you have so much potential, there's so much you can do, and it can make such a massive difference for you and for your next generations to come. So, and this is kind of how maybe you can go about doing it. These are the thoughts, maybe. These are maybe some values that, think about it, resonate it with yourselves. Of course, without saying these things, but, in a way to kind of show a lifestyle, put it out there in such a way that inspire people again. This is really,
100%.
we kind of, it's a dream. But, if you dream, then it may happen. But if you don't dream,
Don't make
then
it a dream. Make it a milestone.
If you can dream it, you can do it, Cameron.
Yeah.
You gotta put a nice roadmap and
Yeah.
I have a very interesting take about Turkey. When I look at there are these YouTube videos, the timelines of countries of the world. You see the 6,000 years of countries. You see Sumerians and this and that, and then they grow into big empires and countries, and then the modern borders form. When I watch those timeline videos, I see that in this particular part of the world, there are always these empires, such as the Hittites, at some point some forms of Egyptians,
the
Lydians,
cradle of
Greek-
civilization.
100%. And you take the cradle of civilizations, you come to Alexander's empire, then the Roman Empire, and this was these three regions, Anatolia, Levant, and Egypt, were the richest regions of the Roman Empire. And then you have the Eastern Roman Empire, which
The
was
Byzantine.
again the biggest empire of its time. And then you have the Ottoman Empire, which was again the superpower of that time. And then it slowly fades away, and now the West is taken over. I do believe that force will awaken in these lands because it just cannot be left to a normal Balkan country. The importance, the level of energy that the Bosphorus, Istanbul, Anatolia, the history, and Göbekli Tepe has, will not allow the 89, 90 million population of this country to be just mediocres. Okay? I believe, and this was the 2023 vision statement of this government, and after this election that they talked about, this is Turkey's new century. And if they are putting this vision on, the awakening has happened, and I do believe the energy will flow in such a way that awakening is going to start again, and this nation will rise. It just has to happen. There's no two ways about it. It may be delayed, but if there is the leadership that says that the awakening is here and this is our next century, and I think that's poking that energy, and it will come out sooner or later.
So what you're saying is there is a certain level of energy here that has shown its face over and over again
Yes.
in the past several millennia.
Yes.
And what you're saying is it's cycles.
Yeah. And I do feel it's about to
and it
come.
will rise again. Yeah. It may not, when it does so, it may not necessarily be a nationalistic thing.
No.
It may not necessarily confine to the boundaries of a nation such as Turkey. But yes, I hear you. And this part of the world certainly has got something.
Yeah, and somebody needed
Has
to blow
got
the
something.
whistle. I'm not saying this person or that person or this president or that person, but somebody had to just say it out loud that this is our next century. And this is when the nation awakens. And I do believe that energy is poked and it is slowly coming. The people are complaining about refugees. People are complaining about foreigners. People are complaining about this, complaining about that. This entire country is beautiful with foreigners,
Exactly.
with refugees,
Exactly.
with it being the crossroad, with being and having that open door policy and everything. I don't think it just cannot stay like a mediocre country.
Well, the United States became the most powerful nation on earth, and it was, as Bill Murray said in Stripes, you know what it is to be American? It means our forefathers were kicked out of every good country.
Exactly.
And so, yeah.
It's the land of the refugees, basically. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Anyway,
You're not wrong.
thank you very much, guys.
Hey. Hold on. Dennis just flicked this little message to me.
Breaking news.
Breaking news. Year 2060 OECD report says Turkey is going to be the 5th biggest economy by purchasing power parity. Is that so, Dennis?
Yes.
The 5th.
The fifth. Just that year, this year, they published a report about it.
So
Yeah.
by 2060, which is 37 years away,
Jeez, I'm going to be old.
we can be here. You
No,
know,
we'll be here.
if we look after
So
ourselves.
I
don't
don't
even know if I'm gonna be here, dude.
down to the one
Look,
T-bone steak.
seriously.
I'm gonna
Yeah,
have my
we live in a
vegetarian
blue zone.
diet.
Yeah.
Come on. So
These
we
guys
have
will
to
definitely be here.
think
Yeah.
positive.
These guy, well, this guy should be here,
Yeah.
but
If he
This
doesn't get air
guy-
conditioning in the studio.
Anyway,
we're
next
all gonna be
episode,
dead.
you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna have a computer with me, and because Dennis been messaging me, right? I couldn't read any of his messages, but I'm gonna use that TV with the information and everything that we're gonna. And anyway, this
teleprompter.
episode, right?
I like this.
This episode,
I like this,
Yeah.
Dennis. I like this.
yeah,
I think you should always flick nice little messages to me
yeah.
to read.
But can we get like Sumaya to bring him in rather than him? No offense, but
Inshallah.
You want some
Inshallah.
man? Inshallah.
Don't leave me hanging. Don't leave me hanging. All right,
God wants it.
Gentlemen.
thank you.
Go on then.
Hey, let's get a photograph and send it out to
Yeah.
the group. So
Okay.
they know we did the first one.
Yeah,
Because I will be living that time. And I'm sorry, no offense.
yeah.
Here.
We will be dead and gone.
Good fishing.
We will
Anyway.
be dead and gone.
Take care of that.
Anyway, let's all say bye to that camera. Guys, thank you very much for watching. This has been our... Hold on, why are we... Oh, all right.
It's the first
For
episode.
easy sharing.
Yeah, it's the
For
first
easy
episode, but I
sharing.
haven't closed it. All right, cool.
You will be in camera age after we
I know.
episode.
Okay. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for joining, gentlemen. And see you in the next episode.
What kind of voice is that?
Oh, that's his bedroom.
No,
Come on now. No, this is called
What?
the late
didn't
night
like what?
DJ, FM radio DJ.
You're
voice.
channeling Barry White.
That's exactly what it is, isn't it?
I'm getting older, yeah.
Is puberty hit? And you get a
Yeah.
little bass in the voice?
No, I'm physically young, spiritually old, factually correct, emotionally honest person. Thank you very much for watching SWOT, and see you in the next one.
No,
Amen.
No, this was good.
Let's try this.
No, that's just gonna.
Hey, don't take his shine away.
Yeah, don't take my shine.
He's got to
away.
open and close.
I'm sorry to break your...
Turkey's #1 factually correct, emotionally honest show. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one.
Fantastic!
Yes, that's it.